Hi there, I'm Davey Cretin, and welcome to Cretin Classics. This is my first ever panel show, the first time I've had more than two guests on. So before we start and I introduce everyone, I want to thank Grant Arthur from Grant's Rock Warehouse. He gave me his blessing, he gave his permission for us to continue this show on Cretin Classics and do a more detailed version of what we're going to continue on Grant's Rock Warehouse. So thank you, Grant. Now for my panel from John the Music Nut channel, John the Music Nut, everyone. From Bicycle Legs Talks Music, Bicycle Legs with the cool hat on
Yes.
and the shirt promoting his channel. And you've seen him on Grant's Rock Warehouse and so many channels on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, DC.
Hello, folks.
So that is the panel tonight, and we are going to be discussing our favorite 12 tracks from the year 2001. So that's, and if there's time, maybe at the end, we'll go for some honorable mentions, everyone. So we're going to do the order is John the Music Nut, Bicycle Legs DC, and then I will bring up the rear, so to speak. So, John, why don't you take it away with your number 12, 11, and 10, good sir?
Thank you, good sir. And it is a pleasure and a privilege to be working with all of you today. My number 12 is an album that I mentioned with Daniel on Bicycle Legs Talks Music. This was a one and done. This is Oysterhead from the album The Grand Pecking Order. I'm going to go with Rubberneck Lions. Now, Oysterhead were Trey Anastasio from Fish, Les Claypool from Primus, and Stuart Copeland from The Police. They have a sound that is a little similar to Fish and Primus. It all depends on who's singing the lead vocal. Rubberneck Lions is this really, really cool jam on here that I really enjoy. I think it is a wonderful track. It is a bit of an outlier compared to some of the really quirky songs that are on here, but it's a very cool song, and it is my number 12 from Oysterhead, Rubberneck Lions. And number 11 is a band that I have talked about extensively on my channel, and they've made a few appearances in my list on Grant's Rock Warehouse as well. This is the Black Crowes, and this is from their album Lions, and I'm going with the song Come On. Now, this album gets short shrift, in my opinion. It doesn't really have the accolades that the rest of the catalog has. It probably is their lowest selling album, except maybe the more recent ones. But this is a really, really good album. And the song Come On is very Zeppelin-esque. Think of Out on the Tiles from Zeppelin 3, and you'll get an idea how this song goes, but it just has a different kind of chorus to it. It really rocks. There are some songs on this album that really hit hard, but Come On, just very, very catchy. And the riff, again, it is so Out on the Tiles. I really enjoy it. So there's my number 11, Come On by the Black Crowes. And my number 10, now I don't have the original album here, and that'll happen another time, but it was originally on the album Open. And this is Cowboy Junkies. And the song is Upon Still Waters. Now, Open is part of this 4 CD set called Notes Falling Slow. And what this is, it's the three albums from the 2000s, Open, One Soul Now, and At the End of Pat's Taken, respectively, as well as a bonus disc called Notes Falling Slow, which was songs that didn't make those albums. So the song Upon Still Waters is very, very atmospheric and ethereal. This album, they used a lot of space in their arrangements. It's got a very hazy feel to it. Upon Still Waters is one of the shorter songs on here, but it's very, very memorable. Margot Timmons' vocal on here is magnificent. Got a great sense of space on it. It's very melodic. Excellent track. My number 10 is Cowboy Junkies with Upon Still Waters. And just to say, if you pick up this collection, the packaging would not be something that our friend Mr. Davy Cretan would like because you put the CDs in here, in these spaces here. And the reason the CDs aren't in here is because they got scratched when they would fall out of here. So that's why I have them in separate covers. But yes, my number 10 is Cowboy Junkies, Pond Still Waters. There you go.
You're a smart man. And just to let you know,
I
before
learned.
Daniel gives his picks, Oysterhead and the Black Crows were on my larger list.
Nice.
Oh,
So good picks there. And the Cowboy Junkies, to me, I don't know their later albums. Well, I know their earliest stuff from the late 80s, early 90s, and they were always low key, mellow, and sparse.
They were, this album is just a little noisier. There's there's definitely noisier guitars on here, and the songs are really stretched out. So really cool album. Like first half of the album, I think is falls into that vein. And then the second half of the album is more like their albums from the 90s, but some of the songs are tighter.
Okay. Good picks, because two out
Thank
of
you.
three of those were almost my picks.
Sweets. All right.
Over to you, Bicycle Legs from Bicycle Legs Talks Music.
well, thank you for having me, firstly. And I'm new to this. You guys have done these shows on over on the Warehouse before, but I haven't done any of these. So this has been an interesting process for me to pick these songs, especially 2001, because I wasn't listening to a lot of new music in 2001. I was sort of very involved in, you know, young man life, and I was getting ready to become a father. My son was born in December of 2001. So I wasn't listening to a lot of music. A lot of these albums are things that I came to later, sort of, in later years. I wasn't really listening to them in 2001, as it were. And my first pick is very much an example of that. My number 12 is from this band's second album, and the album is Origin of Symmetry by Muse.
Okay.
And the song is a song called Plug-in Baby. It was one of the singles off this album. You can go onto YouTube and see the film clip for it. It's very, very Muse. I didn't actually get into Muse until Black Holes and Revelations, which was their big breakthrough album.
Mhm.
So, but this, you go and listen to Plug In Baby, and it really has that Muse sound to it. I mean, it starts off with this guitar riff that's very sort of Bach inspired. It's got this um, and then it goes into this big bombastic sort of sound that you expect from Muse. Um, yeah, it's really good. It definitely sort of prefigures what you would get on an album like Black Holes and Revelations, where they would, really, really break through into the mainstream and all that sort of thing. But Plug-in Baby did quite well, I believe, in the UK. So, they were already starting to make it big in the UK. It was probably Black Holes and Revelations that broke them worldwide. So,
Mm.
but this is a really good album, and Plug-in Baby's a great sort of, you know, taster for this album, I think. Very good choice for a single. My number 11 is going to be from an album that is actually this artist's only solo album, and that is Roland Orzabal with Tomcat Screaming Outside. And the song that I picked off this album wasn't one of the singles. It's a song called Under Ether. And I like it because it's a really atmospheric song. It's harkens back a bit to sort of slightly earlier Tears for Fears, not the really early stuff, but more your sort of Seeds of Love
Oh.
and elemental kind of sound. It's got a great vocal. This album originally was meant to be another Tears for Fears album, actually, but as he was recording it, he got back together with Kurt Smith, and they started to decide they wanted to work together again. So when he'd already pretty much finished this album, so he decided to release it as a solo album rather than as a Tears for Fears album, so that he and Kurt could concentrate on doing the reunion album that would be Everybody Loves a Happy Ending. So, but this album, if you don't know it, it's really good. It's got little bits of electronica in it, which you don't really get a lot in Tears for Fears music. But um, but it's really done in an atmospheric way rather than a sort of techno way or anything like that. So it's really an album worth checking out if you don't know it. And a lot of Tears for Fears fans don't even know this album exists. So
Right here.
definitely worth checking out.
I
Yeah.
had no idea that album existed, and I am intrigued.
So my
Excellent.
number 10 is this was the lead single off this album, and I was lucky enough earlier this year to see this artist in concert and see him actually perform this song. The artist is David Byrne. The album is called Look Into the Eyeball, and the song is called Like Humans Do. And it's a really great song. It's got a sort of great sing-songy chorus. It's got that sort of Latin feel that a lot of David Byrne's solo stuff had. Um, when he did it live, it was absolutely electrifying. He was really, really great. If you ever get the chance to see David Byrne, like I think he is still touring, and I think he's going to be doing some more US dates. So go and catch him in concert if you get the opportunity, because the show is absolutely brilliant, and a real feast for the eyes as well as for the ears. Um, but like humans do, it was the single. It was, it didn't really do anything, which is a shame. But it's got that wonderful, as I say, that kind of salsa feel, that Latin feel that a lot of David Byrne's solo stuff around this time had. Again, not an album I think a lot of people know from David Byrne, and one that's definitely worth catching up on and checking out. So that is my number 12, 11, and 10, Davey.
Nice, some good choices. And I heard all of those back in the day, especially a few years later, because I came into Muse with Black Holes and Revelations. And then I started working with someone who used to play the first two records a lot. So I heard all those albums back in the day. So some nice choices there. And you prompted DC to check something out after the
Yeah,
show. And
Yeah,
speaking of
especially if it's
DC,
got traces of sowing the seeds in there, and if they're using electronica in not so much a mechanical fashion. Yeah, I'm very interested. I had no idea that album even existed.
it's been a
well,
long
there you
time since I
go.
heard that, probably 25 years since I heard that record. DC, your 12, 11, and 10, please.
All right. Well, thank you, Davey. It's nice to be here, and
Yeah, welcome to the channel. This is
how
your first time on here.
yeah, it's great to
Same
be
with you,
here.
John.
Great.
And as we were talking before we started recording, I didn't have any problem coming up with a top 10 for 2001. In fact, I had five or six honorable mentions. I will say that going forward as we move into this next century, um, my choices will probably be less and less mainstream and more based on personal discovery than what was created and promoted for the masses.
Yeah.
Having said that, my first choices here will be groups and songs that I think most people will know of or at least heard of. And if you're a regular viewer of Grant's Rock Warehouse, when we do these yearly top 10s, or in this case, a top 12, I normally start off with a Todd Rundgren pick, whether it's a actual Todd recording or something he produced. But lo and behold, this year, no Rundgren pick. But I do have one that I'm going to start off with another one of my all-time favorite musical heroes, and it's Paul McCartney from the album Driving Rain with, ironically, the title track Driving Rain. I could have picked About You, Lonely Road, or Heather, which are three other tracks that I like quite a little bit. And they were also contenders, but the breezy and the slightly funky Driving Rain wins. Um, the song Freedom, Paul's heart was in the right place, but and that song was tacked on to the very end of this album because they had already printed up the graphics and everything. But it was kind of Paul's uh, kind of like a little comforting tune for the States with 9/11 taking place and everything. But his, like I said, his heart was in the right place. The tune itself never really jibed with me,
Yeah.
but that's enough about that. I do not have a visual aid for my next pick. And this is a group that at this point in time, I thought would never again make any top 10 list of mine. Since their glory days of the 70s, they became a different band and one that I didn't care for much anymore. But with this tune, they had my attention once again. No visual aid, but it's Aerosmith with a power pop gem, Jaded. Now, I wasn't doing cartwheels over this album. That's why I don't have the album. Just push play. Um, but this single pushed all the right buttons for old DC. And it was something different for Aerosmith because I don't recall them doing a power pop styled tune before. They did a hell of a lot of power ballads that made them a hell of a lot of money. And I got no complaints about that. If you're an artist, you also got to pay the bills.
Oh yeah.
So, you can't keep on doing the same thing and opportunities arise. Got no problem with them going down that road. Financially, it was a very smart thing to do. But frankly, I was shocked at this point in time that an Aerosmith song would knock me over like this one did. And I think I was working out fitness center and on the multiple TVs that video for Jaded came up. And I was frankly shocked. On to my third pick. This is a more recent favorite of mine, a group, and it's appeared on previous lists of mine. And it kind of got a label of as kind of grunge by some, but for me, they had a grungy edge. But as they moved along in their career, it was more catchy riffs and plenty of melody worked into proceedings. And it's from the album Shangri-La Dee Da, Stone Temple Pilots. And my pick from this album is Days of the Week. Almost picked Hollywood Bitch, but this is catchy, rockin', and with a lot of melodic touches, which, I said, as this band moved along, they became quite adept at that combination. So those are my first three.
Nice. And I'm familiar with all three of those records, and two of them were on my larger list, Aerosmith
Oh,
and STP.
there we go. Commonality.
But they didn't make the cut, unfortunately. So my first three, my number 12 is this band's fourth album. This is the first song on the record, but it was the second single, little under 5 minutes, written by the band, a song called Nice. Oh, by the way, if any of you guys have the CDs, I have so few CDs to show with me. If you have the CD, please show them. The song is called Nice to Know You by the band Incubus. And the single came out December 4th, 2001. It hit yes, thank you, John. It hit
Welcome.
number 59 in bicyclelegs country, Australia. In America, on the Billboard US Alt Airplay / Modern Rock Chart, number 9. US Mainstream Rock Chart, number 9. The rhythm section cooks on this song. It's the first song I've ever chosen for one of these shows with a turntable player in the band. I dig the strumming electric guitar on the pre-chorus and then the crunchy electric guitar that comes in on the chorus on the song. Co-produced by the band and REM producer, bicyclelegs. Scott Litt co-produced this record. So Nice to Know You by Incubus is my 12. Moving on, I'm going to a progressive rock band from Pennsylvania. This is the band's fourth album called Legacy. The band is Shadow Gallery. I'm going with the epic last song on the record, First Light. And this is a 34-minute song, but the song itself technically is only 23 and a half minutes. Then, because the last song, it's the 2000s, after the 90s, they have a blank space. They have a 7-minute bonus track, which is just this cool keyboard, mellow guitar, and drum instrumental. This is an epic prog rock song, maybe prog metal, you could say. Shadow Gallery, they're not as heavy as Dream Theater, so it's prog rock bordering on prog metal. Starts off slow, kicks in before the 5-minute mark, mellows out again. Then it kicks into high gear at the 13-minute mark. You get stellar vocals from the late Mike Baker. What a great singer he was. He was like the prog rock Freddie Mercury. Gritty guitars from Brent Allman, no relationship to the Allman Brothers, John.
Okay.
Great guitars and keyboards from Gary Werekamp, a multi-instrumentalist who's great. And you get kinetic keyboards throughout this song from Chris Ingalls. This is his last CD with the band, unfortunately. He's not on their 5th and 6th album. I think a great keyboard player. The song, of course, ebbs and flows throughout multiple sections. You get tranquil parts, heavy parts, and the tune ends with strumming acoustic guitars and subtle synth work before it fades out into the blank space and the bonus track. So I like the way the song ends. It's different for a prog rock epic. I did an album ranking show on Shadow Gallery on my channel, Cretan Classics, with Jack Toledano from the All or Nada According to Jack channel. So any prog fans out there, fans of Shadow Gallery, check out that album ranking show Jack and I did. This is a very good long song from the band, but it's not my favorite epic by them. That's why it's at number 11. Moving on to number 10, I'm going to a British quartet. This was their 3rd album, and it is from a pair of brothers. John might be familiar with this album, called The Hoggassy by the band Space Hog. And I'm going with the 3-minute 49-second. I think it's the 10th out of 11 tracks on the album. A song called, and it's a great title, At Least I Got Laid is the name of the song. And Royston Langdon, one of the 2 brothers, the bass player and the lead singer, he's also a really good lyricist. So it's a funny song. And I would say this band occupies a unique space between alternative rock, glam rock, and hard rock. His brother Anthony plays rhythm guitar. He also sings backing vocals. Great backing vocals on this song, too. You get bombastic verses with an earworm catchy chorus where he sings, At Least I Got Laid. I wrote down he's a cool lyricist, and this band is best known for the mid-90s hit song In the Meantime from their debut album, where Royston sort of sounds like Bowie. That's where the glam angle comes in. His vocals can sound a bit Bowie-esque, and he's playing a Rickenbacker bass, so the bass really stands out on that song. So everyone knows the song In the Meantime, and the chorus is, we love the all of you. And then you get that great guitar hook, electric guitar hook. So that everyone knows that song. I enjoy the bridge, which leads into the guitar solo by Richard Steele in this song. And drummer Johnny Craig adds some nice heft and flourishes throughout the song. So my number 10, At Least I Got Laid by Space Hog. 11, First Light by Shadow Gallery. And 12, Nice to Know You by Incubus. And thank you for the visual aid, John.
You're very welcome.
Over to you, John, for your 987.
All right. Well, if any of you have a song off of this album in your top 12, I will be surprised. Now, bicyclelegs had mentioned before, a lot of these songs he wasn't into in 2001 because there were other things going on. For me, it was like half and half. In 2001, I was listening to a lot more jazz music, but I was still keeping my pulse on what some music that was coming on the radio. I wasn't listening to anything hard rock or heavy metal at all. So this song I remember from 2001, but darn if I could tell you who it was. Until maybe 2 years ago. And then when I realized who it was, I was like, I got to pick up this album. And I love the album. It's the only album I have by them. This is System of a Down off the album Toxicity. And I'm going with their first hit single, which was Chop Suey. Chop Suey is a tour de force. It's got hooks galore. Yet it's very heavy and very abrasive. It's like when it hit the top 100 here in the States, it was huge on the rock charts. But if you were to listen to this song, you're like, there's so many different parts of this song that are so catchy, and yet everything sounds so cohesive. And this is a very good album too, but they do have a different kind of sound. They are hard hitting and they are metal. I'd say they're actually heavier and better musically than a lot of the new metal that was out at that time. But my number 9 is Chop Suey by System of a Down. Okay, now my number 8, I had gotten into this band 2 years later. So I didn't know this album. It wasn't the first album I bought by them. But this is Tool, and this is off their album Lateralis. And the song I'm going to go with is Schism, which has this really, really cool and infectious bass line to it. A lot of hooks in this song too. Very, very heavy, just as most of the Tool songs were at that point. Not quite as long as some of their songs, because some of their songs could be like epics. But this one's maybe in the 6-7 minute range, but there's not a second wasted, and it works very, very well. My number 8 is Tool with Schism. Now, my number 7 is a favorite from our friend Byron B.M. Bolts on Grant's Rock Warehouse. And as a matter of fact, I did a live cut show with Byron on this band. And as I do Byron's voice on Grant's Rock Warehouse once in a while, and this government mule, and all right, it's not from this album. This is the live album that came out later, but there was a studio album. There were 2 studio albums called Deep End, Volume 1 and 2. And on those albums, they had different bass players on each of the songs. They're all new songs, well, mostly new songs. But Alan Woody had passed away during the making of Deep Stand, so they made 2 albums, and then they did a concert, live concert, where they had all these different bass players on it, called The Deepest End. But on the Deep End, there's a cool tune on there called Skull Mule, which is mostly instrumental. It's very, very jazzy. It's got this really, really cool bass line on it that really, really works. Excellent. It's something that I'm going to go back into my regular voice.
That was very good.
Thank you. But it's a concert staple for Government Mule. It's very, very cool. They loved this song so much they would later have an album, a live album called Skull Mule, which is very, very strong. Skull Mule is a Government Mule fan favorite, and it works very, very well. Not too high, not too many lyrics on it. As a matter of fact, it's a full instrumental. It's very, very cool. But this is my number 7. It is Skull Mule by Government Mule. So there's my 9, 8, and 7.
Nice. And I almost chose Parabola off Lateralis by Tool. That was on my larger list. It just missed out on my honorables. Would probably be number 16.
Okay, there you go.
Over to you, Bicycle Legs.
All right. My number 9 comes from this guy's second solo album. Now, this is one that I definitely did know about in 2001 because I've been following this guy through the various bands he'd been in the 80s and the 90s, and then in the late 90s he went solo. This is his second solo album from 2001. The guy I'm talking about is Neil Finn. The album was 1-0. Well, that's what the album was here, 1-0. Over in the States there, you got a slightly different version called 1-all.
Oh.
With a slightly different track listing, very slightly different artwork. But this is the one we got here, 1-0. And the song that I've picked off this album is a really gorgeous ballad called Last to Know. And it was actually co-written, as a number of the songs on this album were, co-written by Neil Finn and Wendy Melvin from Prince's Revolution and Wendy and Lisa and all that sort of thing. She's all over this album, along with former Crowded House producer Mitchell Froom is all over this album. Um, yeah, Lisa Coleman is on this album. Jim Keltner plays some of the drums on this album. Sheryl Crow is on this album because, like, before she hit the big time, she actually did some uh, support gigs for Crowded House when they were touring in the US.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's a really great song. It's in 6/8 time, and I'm always a sucker for a song in 6/8 because it kind of has that swaying movement to it, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's a really great song. It's a wonderful lyric and an absolutely fabulous lead vocal performance from Neil. So yeah, again, this is an album that didn't do very well, especially not over in North America. Definitely worth checking out if you're a Neil Finn, if you're a Crowded House fan. His solo albums were always a little bit left of center. They weren't quite as commercial as, say, Crowded House were. So they're definitely worth checking out, those early Neil Finn solo albums. My number 8, I will, figuratively speaking, eat my hat if any of you guys have this artist on your list, because I don't think you will. This guy, this is his first solo album. He had previously been one third of a very, very famous Christian rock band. And the band that I'm talking about is DC Talk. And the guy I'm talking about is Kevin Max. The album is called Stereotype B. Now, this is a really, really good album. It is not your typical religious, sort of one-dimensional lyrics kind of thing. The lyrics on this album are really deep. They're spiritual without being sort of preachy. They're about sort of thinking about your inner spirituality and things like that. But here is the stuff that really may get some of you music fans into this album. This album is co-produced by Kevin Max and Adrian Belew.
Hmm.
And Adrian Belew plays a fair bit of guitar on it. The bass player throughout this album is a guy you may have heard of by the name of Tony Levin.
Oh, yeah.
The music on this album is sort of art rocky. Some of it's a little bit world musicy. Some of it's a bit psychedelic. The song I picked off this album is a song called The Secret Circle. And it's a really great song. It starts off sort of kind of laid back, almost sort of loungy. And then, you get this wonderful chorus, which sounds sort of bright and sunshiny. And then halfway through, it goes really dark and almost nightmarish. You can hear in the second half of that chorus, it gets a little bit King Crimson-y. You can hear Adrian and Tony sort of doing their little things on it. And yeah, it's an absolutely brilliant song. But this album, check it out. You may want to not, you might avoid it because, oh, Christian rock or whatever. Don't be put off by the fact that, there's spiritual lyrics and that sort of thing on this album. Musically, it is absolutely brilliant. My number 7 couldn't be more different, though, from the Kevin Max album. This is a band that I didn't get into until probably 10 or 12 years after 2001, when they put out an album that was different from their other stuff in that it did not have any death metal vocals. I think you know where I'm going with this. The band is Opeth. The album that I got into was Heritage. Then a couple of albums in, because I'm not a big death metal guy, I'm not into the sort of death metal growls and that sort of thing. So when Heritage came out and that sort of thing, that was a lot more friendly for me musically. Then I got the album Sorceress, which was a couple of albums later. And there was a bonus disc with the deluxe version of that, which had some live tracks on it. And one of the tracks was a song of this album here, Blackwater Park, and the song was The Drapery Falls. And I remember listening to that for the first time on the bonus disc and really enjoying it and getting into it. It's an 11-minute long song. And about 5.5 minutes into it, all of a sudden he drops the death growls into the song. And I was like, oh, and I didn't know what to think for a minute or so. And then I realized, hey, I'm still really enjoying this. So that was actually my foothold into the earlier Opeth catalogue, which I'm still getting into, and there are still bits of it I like better than others. This album is absolutely brilliant. This was the first album where they worked with Steven Wilson, who obviously is a huge musical hero of mine. Um, but yeah, The Drapery Falls is my number 7, Davey.
Nice. And Opeth, again, were on my larger list. So I'm glad you mentioned them. And what Bicycle Legs doesn't know, guys, is that our friend John Clauser on Grant's Rock Warehouse talks a lot about Christian rock, and he has brought up DC Talk in the past. So he is a big fan of DC Talk. And the way you talked about the Kevin Max record, that's something I want to check out now that I've heard about it, that it's proggy, it has Levin on it, it has Baloo. So interesting choices. Thank you. DC, over to you, sir.
All right. And since I don't think I mentioned it on your program here, Davey, but when I'm giving my lists, it's not in order of how I like them. It's just how I decide to present them. So if
Okay.
anybody gives two craps about that, I thought I'd throw it out there. But my next pick was on the pop charts, and they have appeared a few times on my previous lists on Grant's channel. I own none of their albums, but I do own a lot of their singles. It's the song Hella Good by No Doubt. Yeah, how about that bass line and beat? Love that. Cool instrumentation, gritty little guitar riff, and cool keyboards. And of course, Gwen. A nice little shift in the song about midway with that lead guitar, and it's a great pop single for its time. Now we move on to somewhat uncharted territory. Although this tune did reach number 30 on the adult contemporary charts for 2001, and this artist has appeared on previous lists of mine. It's Shelby Lynne with the song Killing Kind. And this is breezy pop country tinged with a wonderful emotional vocal. And this song, I can listen to this on an hour-long running loop and never tire of it. So if your tastes are anywhere near mine, and probably not, but if they are, check this song out and thank me later. It's really a great, catchy country-ish, but not twangy country, just you know what I'm talking about in that pocket between pop and it does reference country a bit. I mentioned before no Rundgren pick for 2001, but this album I'm going to bring up in the song. They were the closest I heard to music by Todd for this year, and I do have a visual aid. And the group is called the Chamber Strings. The song is The Fool Sings Without a Song from the album Month of Sundays. This whole album is fantastic. The vibe here is very early 70s Rundgren-esque piano-based pop. So if that's up your alley, you will not be disappointed. Um, Here's a group that does get mentioned in a lot of discussions of bands that need to be exposed to the masses. All four members of this band write songs, so the material on their album is always top notch. Plus, in concert, these guys are so talented that they switch off instruments. All of them can play drums, bass, guitar, and a bit of keys. It's Canada's own, oh, Sloan, with the song In the Movies from the album Pretty Together.
It,
And it's a nice slice of what Sloan does best. Melody, vocals, and riffage on this one song, wrapped up in a tidy 3 minutes and 33 seconds.
Was that 4 or was that 3?
That's 3. Or did I do 4?
I think you did 4.
Oh my God.
Right? No Doubt.
I broached
Shelby
protocol.
The band I've never heard of.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
on. Yeah.
Oh,
4.
Shut up, DC. 3. You
You're
got it.
excited.
3.
It's okay.
Sorry, folks.
That's okay. No Doubt. They were on my larger list too. That's a really good record. I played that a lot back in the day.
The other
But they didn't
singles
make the
always
cut.
come through, but I always have this gut feeling that if I bought the album, I would probably only like 1 or 2 other tracks, but I could be wrong low these many
No.
years.
There's some good songs on that record.
Okay.
Okay, so next time just do 2 instead of 3, I guess,
Okay.
to even it out.
All right.
Nobody's perfect, not even a perfect stranger, as Chrissy Hind once said. Like Time the Avenger.
there you go.
Great song for Pretenders too. Not well known, but still a great song. Okay, my number 9, I'm going to the progressive rock field. Bands from the band's 6th album called Not of This World. I don't know if bicyclelegs has a copy there, but maybe I doubt it. Pendragon is the band. Almost a 12-minute track. It's called A Man of Nomadic Traits. And I love this neo-prog band, one of my favorite neo-prog bands from England. Lead guitar and vocals from Nick Barrett, who writes all the songs. Probably my favorite part about him, besides his songwriting, his guitar playing is great. He's sort of like David Gilmour, but more modern, a little quicker, a little faster. There's another guitar player I'll mention later who's more like David Gilmour. You get keyboards from Clive Nolan from Arena, one of my favorite prog bands on this record, and the rhythm section, Peter G on bass, and the aptly named Fudge Smith on drums. Mama Fudge must be proud of her son. Once again, you get this mini epic. It goes through many moods and tempo changes, but it has this uplifting anthemic chorus, one of the great things I love about prog rock. Halfway through, you get a mint elongated solo section where the keys and guitar trade off. And this album, Not of This World, hit number 29 on the charts in Poland, of all places. So they have a big stronghold in Poland, Pendragon do. That's my number 9. My number 8, I'm going over to the country, going over to Wales. Another 6th album here out of their 15 studio records so far. Wow, I got to catch up. I only know the first half of their catalog. The album is called Know Your Enemy. 4-minute song written by the band, the Manic Street Preachers. I'm mentioning them again. I brought them up on Grant's Rock Warehouse, and I'm going with the song So Why So Sad. And Martin Popoff, who also loves this band, would be upset there's no question mark at the end of So Why So Sad, because there should be one. And I agree with you, Martin. In Australia, bicyclelegs, this hit number 11 on the Australian alternative chart, number 4 in Finland, number 16 in Ireland, and on the UK singles chart, number 8. So it was a big hit for the band. This sounds very 60s influence. You get that Phil Spector wall of sound type sound, and also a lot of Beach Boys harmony vocals. So it's like, wow, this isn't really their sound because they're more of an alternative rock trio. So you get this nice 60s sound with backing vocals all over the place, call and response vocals. So I really love this song, although it's not the Manic Street Preachers' normal, a little bit aggressive sound. It's catchy as all get out, I wrote down. Keyboards on this song by Nick Naismith, or Naismith, I should say. It's with a Y, so Naismith. On lead vocals and guitar, James Dean Bradfield. On bass and lyrics, Nicky Wire, and the drummer is Sean Moore, and they all co-wrote this song together. That's my number 8. And number 7, I am going to something I have a visual aid of. Now, bicyclelegs and I on bicyclelegs Talks Music did a 2-show series on this band, my favorite band. Yes, and I'm going to the Magnification album. And I'm going to the penultimate track. There it is on vinyl, beautiful looking vinyl. 10.5 minute song called In the Presence of, written by, there's only four members in the band at the time: John Anderson, Steve Howe, Chris Squire, Alan White, from the 19th studio album. That's the way I'm counting it, Magnification. And this is the only Yes album without an official keyboard player. But drummer Alan White came up with the piano line, and he plays the piano for the first half of the song, first third of the song. It's broken up into four parts. Part one is Deeper, that's the big piano part. Death of Ego, True Beginner, and Turn Around and Remember is the fourth part. So they were in the studio, and Alan White started playing this piano piece that he had written a few years before. And John Anderson said, "What is that, Alan?" And he said, "Oh, it's this piano piece I wrote a few years ago, but I never did anything with it." And John said, "Let's develop this into a song." So my favorite song from the album, you get sterling backing vocals from the first half of the song, Chris Squire, and then John Anderson is doing his own backing vocals in the second part of the song. Part four, which is Turn Around and Remember, is all about the song building up. And then you get this amazing Steve Howe pedal steel guitar solo that makes the song for me. This album, because there's no keyboard player, you have orchestration that's done by Larry Grope. I think that's his name, right? Bicycle Legs? Or Group A or
Yep.
Grope. So he does the orchestration
Larry
on the
Grove.
record, and it's good. It doesn't overpower the songs, unlike their second album, Time in a Word, where the orchestra's way too high in the mix. So check out on Bicycle Legs Talks Music the series we did with, we picked our favorite Yes songs from each album. So my 7 by Yes, In the Presence of, Manic Street Preachers, So Why So Sad, and 9, Pendragon, A Man of Nomadic Traits. Over to you, John.
Hey
Okay.
Davey, just one quick little bit.
Sure.
That Yes album, that triggered a memory because I haven't probably listened to it since it came out. What's the name of the first track on that album?
It's
Let's
the
see who
title
gets.
track, Magnification.
Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, I always thought that would have made a great James Bond theme. Or do I have that completely wrong?
No, it has the
Because
orchestration
it's got
on
the
it.
orchestration there, and I says, man, this would be a dynamite James Bond
Yeah, it's
theme.
sweeping, it's epic. It's like a 7 or 8
Yeah.
minute song. No, I
Yeah, I
would
hadn't
agree
thought
with you
about
on that.
that low these many years until you brought that album up.
And it's catchy too. It has a catchy
Oh
chorus.
yeah. Yep.
Magnification. And then you get the choir coming in, the orchestration, not the choir, the orchestration. So it's a good song. That's a good song too.
Yeah.
There are like 3 or 4 epics on this album, and maybe Daniel will have one for us later with his picks. We'll have to see. Over to you, John.
All right. Thank you. So my next 3 picks are artists or bands that I talk about pretty regularly on the 10 favorite songs on Grant's Rock Warehouse. Number 6 is a singer-songwriter who I adored his music. I say adored because he passed away over 20 years ago. But during the time he was alive, he didn't sell a lot of records, but he made a lot of amazing records. And my number 6 is Chris Whitley from his album Rocket House. The song I'm going with is Say Goodbye. Now, Chris Whitley was a very restless songwriter. His albums, after a while, were very big into genre jumping. This album jumps genres all over the album. The song Say Goodbye, though, is more accessible. It sounds like something that in another time would have been a hit single on maybe adult contemporary rock radio. How I would describe the song in relation to another artist, if you ever listen to Dave Matthews Band, there's a lot more going on musically, but his solo stuff is a lot more mellow, singer-songwriter, more accessible. That's what this song sounds like. Now, there is drum loops going on and a lot of different electronic drums and different instruments coming in and out. but the melody is very, very memorable on it. It's got a wonderful chorus on it. Chris Whitley was known for his guitar playing. There's very little guitar on this song. What you have, though, is this gem that is just so accessible, very, very memorable. My number 6 is Chris Whitley with Say Goodbye. Okay, my number 5 is a band that's still going today. They don't make albums as often as they used to. And the 3 members of the bands are usually involved with a lot of other projects. This is King's X from the album Manic Moonlight. Song I'm going with is Vegetable. Now, this is an album, much like Chris Whitley's Rocket House, which is very, very eclectic. They try a lot of different things. This is probably the most eclectic album they made. Now, not all of the things that they try to do here were very successful, but Vegetable, I think, is a gem. And it's just a repetitive dance rock song. It's got a groove to die for. It goes on for 6 minutes, but you listen to that groove and it just takes you in. And it doesn't even have to end. It's just so addictive. But it's a wonderful song. Doug Pinnick's vocal on it, particularly in the chorus, is magnificent. And there was great call and response in the chorus between Doug and Ty and Jerry. But it's very, very cool. Very, very funky track. And by far my favorite song on the album. This is my number 5, Vegetable by King's X. The number 4, the singer-songwriter, still out there today. Again, he's not writing as many albums these days because now I think somebody's 74 this year, but he has like 23 albums out. And most of these albums are very good to great. My number 4 is John Hyatt from the album The Tiki Bar Is Open, and I'm going with the song All the Lilacs in Ohio. This is a wonderful song. It's very, very Americana, very, very catchy, very, very addictive. It's something that anyone can really get into. It's kind of sing-songy compared to a lot of the other songs I heard. This is a very good album. But it has more of a country base to it. I mean, I guess you call it Americana, but it's something that is very accessible and it's very, very catchy. So my number 4 is All the Lilacs in Ohio by John Hyatt. So there you go.
And I heard all of those back in the day. And on the John the Music Nut channel, he did a whole series on Chris Whitley. At the end, an album ranking. So if you're a fan, check it out on John the Music Nut, the YouTube channel. Over to you, Bicycle Legs.
All right. Well, my number 6 is from this wonderful Yes album, Magnification. As Davey alluded to, we did a show on this album, or on this band, where we picked our favorite song from each album. We split it into 2 shows because otherwise it was going to be sort of feature-length episode. And the second half, we talked Magnification. And I knew that I could pick this song, Davey, because I know that we picked different songs from this album. So you picked In the Presence Of, I picked Give Love Each Day. And Give Love Each Day is a wonderful song. It's, 7 minutes long. It's really emotional. And it's got some of what I've always called the Yes secret sauce, which is those beautiful harmonies between John Anderson and Chris Squire. To me, that's what makes the Yes sound different from everybody else. And it's something we sadly don't have anymore because John isn't in the band and Chris is sadly no longer with us. So, but yeah, Give Love Each Day is also, I think, one of the best orchestrations on the album too. As Davey said, the orchestrations on this album work so much better than On Time and a Word because this album was written initially with the orchestra in mind, as opposed to Time and a Word where they recorded the songs and then the orchestra was kind of tacked on at the end. So yeah, that's my number 6. My number 5 is from one of my absolute favorite bands in the whole of the world. This is their album from 2001, They Might Be Giants with Mink Carr. Rather depressingly, this album came out on September the 11th, 2001. Um, and the song I've picked off this album isn't one of the singles or the lead songs off the album. It's actually a song that's quite atypical for They Might Be Giants. And it is a song called Another First Kiss. And it's an unusual song for They Might Be Giants in that it's a ballad, it's a slower song, it's tender, and it's from the heart. It's not sort of tongue in cheek or smart ass or anything like a lot of They Might Be Giants lyrics are weird or quirky or, jokey or that sort of thing. This isn't. This is a very tender from the heart song from John Flansburgh. And, even though there's a couple of lyrics in there that are a little bit strange, like, other people were too sentimental and always worrying about their hair. But apart from that, it's a very tender song. Um, it starts off with the line, "I'm asleep, but she's talking to me. She's walking round wearing all of my clothes." And it's just a beautiful song about a relationship. And it really seems to be from the heart. So I like that as something very different in the They Might Be Giants catalogue. Um, and then my number four is a song from a band I really love, but it's from an era of this band that I don't think gets nearly enough love. And that is the band Asia. The album is Aura. This is from the John Payne era of the band. Wonderful Roger Dean artwork on that cover. And the song that I have gone with there is the opening track, Awake, which is just a really great, it's almost got a fanfare-ish quality to it to start the album. Um, it's it's beautiful. I really feel that some of the John Payne era stuff is proggier than some of the John Wetton era stuff, which is more sort of AOR and arena rock and that sort of thing. Um, I love this. There's some fabulous keyboard work on here from Jeff Downes. I think a really good vocal from John Payne. I know a lot of people don't like John Payne's vocals compared with John Wetton, and they are two very different singers. But I think on this album in particular, John Payne sings really, really well. And his voice is perfectly suited to the song Awake. Um, so yeah, that is my number six, five, and four, Davey.
Nice. And that album, that Asia record, was on my larger list again. That is my favorite album from the John Payne era. So that's a good choice. And I heard that They Might Be Giants record back in the day, but it's been a long time since I've heard that record. So more good choices. Good work. Now, DC, this time only two from you, please,
Yes, I won't get carried away this time,
to
folks.
even it out. Just
Exciting.
two. Thanks.
I'll give you my two for this go round. And this is the first for these top yearly lists for me, as I have picked a cover song. Yes, this cover is so inspired and fun, I had to include it. And every time I hear it, it puts a smile on my face because of its inventiveness, yet staying true to the original. From the album, The Complete Pet Soul. So you know where these cats are coming from, Pet Sounds, Rubber Soul. It's the group Splitsville, and they do a cover of Burt Bacharach's "I'll Never Fall in Love Again." The song starts true to the original, but guitar based, and it goes into overdrive about a third of the way in. And it's also very clever vocally with the harmonizing of all the guys in the band. And at the very end of the song, with the refrain, you get them working in "Video Killed the Radio Star," which I thought was also a very clever touch as they segue out of the tune. Bicycle Legs mentioned Adrian Belew, so I have a little tangent here. Back in 2001, I was a Cincinnati boy, and my favorite group to come out of that city was a group called the Bears, which included Adrian Belew. But without the Bears, they were known as the Psychodots. And This album is called Car Caught Fire, and it's not one of my favorite albums of theirs, but there is a wonderful tune called Under the Volcano. And Rob Fetters is the main vocalist and guitarist here, and this guy's a real treasure. The song, along with most of their catalog, is very catchy yet quirkiness. It's very approachable. I mean, it's not like you have to really strain to get a lot of it, but there's a lot of quirky aspects to their music. Um, check out the Psychodots along with the Bears with Adrian Belew. That's a lot of great stuff that a great number of music fans don't know anything about. And also, Rob Fetters as the solo artist, very talented guy. Still in Cincinnati, writes a lot of jingle type music for local clients and everything. But really, in my opinion, very major talent and extremely um, talented songwriter. So there is my two.
Nice. And isn't the band Splitsville from some of them are from Greenberry Woods originally?
Yeah, it started Greenberry Woods and then they became Splitsville.
And
I
I
think
am,
there's two brothers, Hausman brothers,
yes.
are, and they just released a new album last year that's pretty good. Mob Town, it's called.
Okay. And the Greenberry Woods are back together, which is blowing my mind. They have a new
Oh,
single out and a new record due at the end of May. And I was going to rank their three albums, and now I'm going to hold off and wait and then rank their four albums. I'm psyched for this new record, the single from the Greenberry Woods. It's out there. It's a really good song.
oh, that's certainly good news. I will check that out, Davey.
And I
Thanks.
do have to, yeah, I follow you follow them on Facebook. You'll see all this stuff. And what was I going to say? Oh, the Splitsville album. I don't know. I have to hear that. So that's another record for me to check out.
Yeah, they've got
I have a few.
Splitsville has about 4 or 5 albums,
I'm way
all worth
behind
checking out if that's in your wheelhouse.
because I love those first two Greenberry Woods albums,
Hmm.
especially. So speaking of the power pop subgenre of rock, my next band is in the alt rock power pop wheelhouse. Shortest song on my list, 3 minutes and 20 seconds from their third album. It's self titled, but because of the color of the cover, it's called the Green Album or just Green Album. Written by Rivers Cuomo. I'm talking about the song Island in the Sun from the third Weezer record. Do you have it there, John?
Honorable.
Ah, okay, darn. Okay.
Oh, so close.
Now, this record was produced by Rick Ocasek. And speaking of Rick Ocasek, look for me on Curlis Mania sometime in May because I'm going back on with Tom Curlis and we are doing another Cars episode. We will be focusing on the Door to Door album. So that's my slight tangent. Going back, Rick Ocasek produced this record, second single in Australia, where our buddy Bicyclelegs here lives. It hit number 78 on the Belgium charts, number 9, the UK rock and metal chart, number 5, adult US alternative chart, number 8, adult pop airplay chart, number 33, and the US adult airplay chart, number 11. Now, the band didn't want Island in the Sun on the record. Rick Ocasek fought for its inclusion on the record, and it's one of their biggest hits. In fact, it's Weezer's most licensed song. You probably know it from a lot of TV commercials and radio commercials. It's very breezy, light, catchy pop with hooks everywhere, especially the shimmering guitar work. And then it's offset by this brief, heavier bridge where some electric guitar comes in and it feels very alt rocky at that point. And then it goes back to the mellow part. You got a short, off kilter, almost out of key guitar solo, which just does that sound right? Well, it fits the song. So even if it's somehow out of tune or off key, it sounds really good. Back to the bridge. Then you go back to that little heavier section, back to the breezy pop until the song fades out. So my number 6, Weezer, Island in the Sun. Going to number 5, I have a visual aid for this, a prog rock, prog metal band I love from the UK, Threshold. And this is their 2001 album, Hypothetical. And I am such a big fan of this band. I didn't pull it out, but I do have it here. He didn't write the song, but I have the keyboard player Richard West's autobiography. And this cost me an arm and a leg getting it shipped over from England. But any prog metal fan, prog rock fan who loves Threshold, really good book. He's a good writer, and he just put out his second book, which I don't have yet. I'm going with the last song on the record called Narcissus. Over 11 minutes long, written by guitar player Carl Groom and bass player at the time, John Geary. We did an album ranking show on the Prog Corner, Scott Lade's channel. I had young Logan Collins with me on that show, and my good old buddy from the record store days, Nate. And we ranked all the albums of Threshold. Check it out on the Prog Corner. You get great guitars on this song from Carl Groom and Nick Midson. Excellent vocals from another late singer in the prog field, Andrew Mac McDermott. Everyone called him Mac back in the day. And the underrated keyboard playing of Richard West on the song is great. You get an elongated bridge. I almost mixed those words together. With distorted vocals from Mac on purpose, they do that. And you get great keyboards underneath by Richard West. Then 2/3 of the way through, you go more trade-offs of solos between guitar and keys, ping-ponging back and forth. One of my favorite Threshold choruses is on this song, and this ends the CD in spectacular fashion. My number 5, Narcissus from Threshold. My number 4 song I'm not going to talk about because I just spoke about it on a show on my channel. My two guests and I from the YouTube channel Underlord's Universe, we ranked our favorite songs by Blue Oyster Cult. And my number 4 from this year, from their 13th studio album, Curse of the Hidden Mirror, Dance on Stilts. And I did mention it on that show. So go check out our BOC favorite song show with the Cleveland Brothers from the Underlord's Universe channel. So my number 4, Dance on Stilts by BOC, 5, Narcissus from Threshold, and 6, Island in the Sun by Weezer. And now we're getting to our top 3. So John, take it away, baby.
All right. Thank you, Davey. Okay. Incubus comes back for a song in the 2001 favorite songs here, but I'm going with a different track off of their wonderful album Morning View. This is a song that just resonates with me more and more as time goes on, and it's Wish You Were Here, which was the other big single off of the album. I think it's just a wonderful track. It's very wistful, and it has that slow build into that wonderful chorus. Very simple, very, very effective, very emotional chorus, I believe, the way it's sung. And it is just a wonderful track, and it's just one that I've just loved it more and more as time goes on, and it takes on a different meaning as time goes on too. So my number 3 is Wish You Were Here by Incubus. My number 2 is by a band that a lot of people like them, but I don't know if a lot of people like them amongst us music swamis, as Martin Popoff likes to say. And this is probably the only time I will mention this band in my 10 favorite songs for the next 25 years or whatever. But this is Nickelback off their album Silver Side Up, and it's How You Remind Me, which to me is by far the best song they've ever done. I think this song destroys. I could see why this was a huge number 1 hit. Fantastic anthem that it is. It's got the the soft verse, loud chorus. The chorus is to die for. It is wonderful. It is just a great song. It's like a call to arms the way it's done. It's very, very another song that's very, very emotional, very, very cool, and it makes you feel good. That's what I really love about this song. And this album's good. I don't think they ever hit these heights again. Like, they've had a lot of hits since then, but those songs, I don't think those melodies really resonated like this one did. It's my number two for 2001, How You Remind Me by Nickelback. Now, my number one is by an artist who I knew him more for the band that he was in for the longest time. And it was probably maybe 10 years ago that I really went down this man's solo career. And wow, has he made so many wonderful albums. Even in his later years, he's still around. He's 87 years old. He's no longer touring, but he's still writing great music. And this is for my friend, the incomparable Nick Esquire, because he loves this man's music even more than I do. And this is Ian Hunter from his album Rants. And the song is Rip Off. Rip Off is an awesome track. It's got this looseness. What it reminds you of, it for 2001, it's like what you wish the Rolling Stones still sounded like.
Oh.
It's got that kind of swagger to it, just a great rock song, great wordplay on here, another wonderful chorus that really sticks in your head. It is a fantastic, this album is a 10 out of 10 album for me. I think this album is fantastic. And there's a lot of songs in here. Like if we were to do a top 20 or a top 30, and you can repeat the same artist, there'd be a lot of songs off this album for me. But my favorite is Rip Off, and it's my favorite song from 2001 from the Rant album by Ian Hunter. So there you go.
Nice. And of course, we should mention that you guys are doing a series on Ian Hunter. First it was Mott the Hoople, now Ian Hunter on Grant's Rock Warehouse. And Ian Hunter saw one of the shows and commented on it. So how mind-blowing is that?
Yeah, that's true. I'm not part of that series though, but Nick is.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen Nick on it. I've seen all the episodes. Good stuff.
Yes.
So check it out on Grant's Rock Warehouse. And that Nickelback song was huge. You couldn't escape it back in 2001. And we sold a lot of Nickelback CDs back in the day, working in the record store. So interesting picks, John.
Thank you.
Bicycle Legs, over to you for your top three.
All right. My number three is by an artist who was huge here in the 80s. He was huge in the UK and Europe. I don't know how big he was in the US, although he may have had a hit or two. But then by the time we're getting into the late 90s, early 2000s, he's just not selling a lot of records. And that's a real shame because I think this is a marvelous album. The artist I'm talking about is Nick Kershaw. The album is called To Be Frank, and the song that I've picked off this is the lead single and the lead off track on the album, which is a song called Wounded. And Wounded's a wonderful, wonderful song. It's in 6/4 time, which is an unusual time signature for a pop song. It's got this kind of almost mariachi feel to it with some of the horns and that sort of thing in it. And it's got a bit of a sort of a flamenco-y kind of guitar. It's lyrically very witty, which a lot of Nick Kershaw songs were. And it's catchy as all hell. And it should have been a big hit. And unfortunately, it went absolutely nowhere, as did indeed this album. Again, real shame. An artist I love a lot. I was a big fan of his back in the 80s. He didn't make any albums between 1989 and 1998. He was like silent for about 9 years. And then he put out an album before this in 1998, and then this one came out in 2001. And he's only put out 2 or 3 albums since, but they're all worth checking out, in my humble opinion. I think they're absolutely great. My number 2 is by a band I know Davey loves, but I don't think he's going to pick a song off this album because I know he doesn't particularly like this album. It's one of my favorite bands. The band is Marillion, and the album is Anarachnophobia. And the song I have picked off this album is the absolutely drop-dead brilliant song, This is the 21st Century, which it's just, I mean, it starts off with this kind of drum machine and very slow, very wistful. Some really echoey guitar from Steve Rothery, and sort of haunting sort of synth pads from Mark Kelly. But the lyric and the vocal on this song from Steve Hogarth just absolutely take me away every time. You know, the first verse, it's like, a wise man once said, a flower is only a sexual organ, beauty is cruelty and evolution. I mean, it's just so great. And he's sort of singing in this song from the idea that, there's a bit more to life than just time, space, matter, and energy. And I love that about this song. And it builds and it builds and it builds. Ian Mosley comes in halfway through with some brilliant drumming. And there's a really great Steve Rothery guitar solo in the latter half of the song. I adore this song. I love this album. And I'm going to actually propose off screen to Davey that we do a show on this album, but more on that later. And then my number one is something that I think Davey may have picked. So I'll be interested to see. And this is something I was definitely into at the time, and that is Transatlantic's Bridge Across Forever album, and I picked the epic closing track, Stranger in Your Soul, which just, I mean, wow. It's 26 minutes long. It's in 5, 6 sections, and it goes like a lot of those transatlantic epics. It just goes through the gamut of every kind of uh, musical feel you could imagine. It starts off quite quiet. You get all four of them singing lead vocals in various parts of this song, and I love that about it too. It's not just, the first album I really, really like, but it really does feel like the Neil Morse songs on that album sound like Spock's Beard songs, and the Royna Stolt song on that album sounds like a Flower King song. And the only one I feel on that first album that really ends up getting a transatlantic feel, kind of weirdly, is the cover version that they do of the Procol Harum song. But on this album, they really get their own voice, I think, and nowhere more so than Stranger in Your Soul. Uh, I was lucky in 2010, I actually traveled to the Netherlands to see family because my dad's family are all from the Netherlands. And while I was there, I actually got to see Transatlantic in concert on the Whirlwind tour. And I actually got to meet all of them except Royna after the show, which was absolutely brilliant too. But and they played Stranger in Your Soul at that show, and it absolutely killed. But yeah, you get the quiet parts, you get the almost metally parts on parts of this song. Um, you get the wonderful harmonies between these four guys because they can all sing and they're all really good. I've always said I would love to hear a Mike Portnoy solo album. I would love to
Same.
hear an album where he does lead vocals and and that sort of thing. I think that would absolutely kill. But yeah, might be my favorite. I don't know. It's probably a toss up between this and The Whirlwind for which one's my favorite transatlantic album. But terrific album, and Stranger in Your Soul is just killer song. So those are my 3, 2, and 1, Davey.
Nice. Good choices. And maybe we'll hear more about one of those after. But for now, over to you, DC, for your top three.
All right, now that I'm back on track, you'll only be getting three this time, folks.
You'll give us five.
um, my first pick of this last go round here is from John Bryan, and the album is called Meaningless, and the song I picked is I Believe She's Lying. And you folks that know the Grays, which was really a stellar one album, one and done type situation. John Bryan was a member of that band. And that song, along with this album, if you love the stuff that he took the lead on with the Grays in songwriting and vocalization. You will love this album. It's a really tremendous album from him as well. Next is a group that I don't think very many people will know about. They came out of the Los Angeles power pop scene, but they were more power pop punk. And the band is called Cockeyed Ghost, and the album is Ludlow 316. And the song I picked from it is the title track. It's a little bit extended type. I mean, most of the songs I've picked on my list here are shorter compositions. This is a little bit longer. Great tune, has different passages that work really well together. And I do like the Cockeyed Ghost, and I think this is my favorite album of theirs as well. My last pick is very obscure, and it's just I happen to hear this tune, I don't know where, in honesty, but I love the song enough that I bought the album. The group's name is Spoiler, and the song is This Love Is Going Somewhere. Just a 3 minute, catchy, breezy, summertime pop thing with a great guitar riff, great vocals. Everything that I look for in the music that I like the most is contained within that tune. And this whole album is actually pretty good, but that song wins out on this LP. So, done.
Nice. And we should say on Grant's Rock Warehouse, we did a one and done episode on the Grays. And I
Yes.
remember talking a lot about John Bryan and his great songwriting on that record. I do have that solo record, but I haven't heard that probably since it came out. It's been way too long.
Oh, you know what John
Yeah,
Bryan,
absolutely.
his reaction to that, Davey? Oh my God. Are you kidding? Oh my God, Davey.
Sorry,
Yeah,
John.
Fish that one
that's a
out.
terrific record,
Yeah,
and
fish
I'm
that one.
kicking myself for not I'm kicking myself for not picking something off that because I love that record. I just recently picked it up on vinyl, and it's
Nice.
a absolute favorite of my son's as well. And it's a one and done too, because John, like, he's done a lot of soundtrack work and all that, but he's
Producing.
never done another pop record. So
Yeah, yeah, you're right, Bicycle Legs. What a real talent. But the thing is, with trying to make a living as an artist, I'm sure these gigs he's getting creating content for film, TV, whatever, is a lot easier than trying to make it as a solo artist.
well, yeah,
So
absolutely. I mean,
got to
it's the
go where
same
the
for
money
Jason
is.
Faulkner, who was also in the Greys.
Yeah,
Um, he hasn't done a solo album in a long, long time,
Way too
but he's
long.
making a good living playing in Beck's band. So,
yeah. It's tough to make a living as a creative in the music biz. I mean, you got to
yeah.
pay the bills. So yeah, but a super talent, John Bryan.
Exactly. I agree 100%. Good picks, DC.
Thank you, sir.
And my number three was already mentioned by Bicycle Legs. I have the limited edition 2 CD set of Bridge Across Forever with bonus tracks. And I picked the same song, so I don't have to talk about it. Stranger in Your Soul. Just I want to add one thing, Bicycle Legs. I think that when Pete Trewavas, the bass player from Marillion, who plays bass and sings in this band, when he sings the chorus part at the beginning, it's at the top of
Mm,
his range. He has this tender, fragile voice, and it's just so hauntingly beautiful. Probably my favorite part of the song. And then Neil
yeah,
does that chorus part at the end, and he just sings it, through the roof, through the stratosphere. But I love when Pete sings the part. Beautiful, very tender. Speaking of tender, my number two, and we're going to give something away. Bicycle Legs and I have planned on Cretan Classics to do an album ranking of this gentleman's band, but I am taking something from his 2001 debut solo album. I am talking about Ben Folds, and Bicycle Legs and I are going to rank the 4 studio records of Ben Folds 5 coming up in the near future. I'm not picking the hit single, Rockin' the Suburbs, the title track from the record, although that's an awesome song with phenomenal and hysterical lyrics. This man, Ben Folds, plays almost every instrument on this record, except there's some guitar work from Richard Fetus, of all people, on this record. And his wife at the time sang some backing vocals. And I'm surprised that Daniel didn't pick a song from this album. But I am going with another song that is the same length as one of my earliest songs, 3 minutes, 49 seconds. I'm going with Carrying Kathy. This record hit number 18 in Australia, where Bicyclelegs lives, number 42 in the US, 28 in Japan, 73 in the UK. This song is a very poignant ballad from the pen of Ben I wrote down. It's a story song, and a lot of his songs are story songs. And it's very personal to me because my first serious girlfriend back in the day was a lady by the name of Kathy, British lady. And for years when I was younger, I thought I was carrying her. The song is called Carrying Kathy. And now, as I'm older and wiser, I look back on the relationship and I realize that she was carrying me. So it's sort of a twist. And the song just brings back good memories. And I think it's a beautiful song. Ben plays guitar, not guitar, bass on the song. The bass line is great. It's got some subtle drum work, and his piano work, like Joe Jackson, just off the charts. Phenomenal talent. Ben Folds, Carrying Kathy, my number two. And speaking of touching songs, my number one song, I've spoken about them before on Grant's Rock Warehouse, Mostly Autumn, the UK British progressive rock conglomerate. There are men in the band, females, and this song is written by Heather Findlay, the former lead singer of the band. It's called Shrinking Violet. It's 8.5 minutes long, from their third album, my favorite album by them. I'll eventually do an album ranking here. It's called The Last Bright Light. This record is great from start to finish. And on a rare American tour date, I saw them open up for Nectar, the European progressive rock band, in New York City. And I seem to be one of the few Mostly Autumn fans. They're going crazy during their set. And I was embarrassing myself by standing up and shrieking and singing along. Now, this Heather Finlay on this song, Shrinking Violet, gives what I think is a soul-stirring vocal performance. It starts out as a tender ballad, and like most Mostly Autumn songs, it just builds into this prog rock mini epic. I love the keyboard work of Ian Jennings on piano and organ. He's very low key and in the background. He doesn't overwhelm the song, maybe like Rick Wakeman or Keith Emerson may have in the past with prog. It's more subtle playing. Band leader Brian Josh has one of his spiraling guitar solos from the 5:20 mark till the 8-minute mark that mixes with Heather Finlay's plaintive, wordless vocals. And also band member Angela Goldthorpe is harmonizing along with her, and a bunch of female backing vocalists, too numerous to mention here. So if you like Pink Floyd, if you like Jethro Tull and Renaissance, female vocals of Annie Haslam, you should really look into Mostly Autumn. They've got over a dozen studio albums. This is my favorite, The Last Bright Light from 2001. The song is Shrinking Violet. I think it's track 10 out of 12 on the album. And the song ends with the sounds of a music box. And I discussed another song ending with a music box on the recent Blue Oyster Cult Favorite Song show on this channel. So that is my number one, Shrinking Violet from Mostly Autumn, two, Carrying Kathy from Ben Folds, and Stranger in Your Soul, Bicyclelegs number one, was my number three by Transatlantic. If you guys want to mention some honorables, I'll pass it over to you, John.
Okay, I had Island in the Sun by Weezer as one of mine. I have Hate to Love Me by Wasp from their album Unholy Terror. I have Jimmy Eat World's The Middle on here, which was song that was so catchy you can get a cold from it.
Yeah, great.
And I also have Spoon with their song Fitted Shirts. So those are mine.
Nice. Any honorables, Bicyclelegs?
Yeah, well, you mentioned the Ben Folds album. I did have Rockin' the Suburbs, the song, on my honorable mention list because it is just absolutely a hoot of a song. And it
Yes.
was the first song that came out after Ben Folds 5 broke up. So it was one of those ones where you wondered what he was going to do. And, one of the first things I noticed about it is, wow, there's guitar on this song. Which, there was never any guitar on Ben Folds 5 stuff. So, um, then a couple of other songs. I picked the song "This Is Where I Came In," which is the title track off the very last Bee Gees album. Um,
Oh,
and it's a really great song. It's going back to their pop roots. It's not a disco song or anything like that. It doesn't have the high falsetto vocals. It's got both Barry and Robin singing lead, and it's just a really great, catchy pop song. And unfortunately, it would be the last Bee Gees album because only a couple of years after it came out, uh, Maurice Gibb would unfortunately pass away far too young. And then the last song I wanted to mention very, very quickly, just because it again is so ridiculous and fun, Tribute by Tenacious D. I love that song because it's just so hilarious, but it's also really catchy musically too. Like it's a really good song musically, but then it tells this absolutely ridiculous Shaggy Dog story about them versus the devil writing this song. And I love it. It's so, and the video for it's a hoot too, with Dave Grohl as the devil. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions.
nice. Anything, DC, to add? Any
Yeah, I got a
honorable?
few here. Let's make it three of the four of us. I also had an honorable mention with Ben Folds, but I picked the song Fired. I
Nice.
also had Glenn Hughes, Can't Stop the Flood. Three Doors Down, another one of those tunes you couldn't escape then with Kryptonite. The Tories, another power pop. Would You Notice? Sugar Bomb, another power pop with the song Bully. And Ken Stringfellow from the Posies with a solo tune, Find Yourself Alone. So, yeah.
Posies, great band.
Oh, yeah.
I just played two of their records recently. Frosting on the Beater and oh my goodness, what's the name of the follow-up?
Amazing Disgrace.
That's it with Ontario on it. What a
Yeah.
great song that is. I just played those two albums recently. Funny you should mention Ken
Yeah.
Stringfellow. Okay, quickly, my honorables. I'm just going to name the songs. No one's mentioned this, and this goes out to my buddy Kiefer, one of his favorite songs, not. Title track from the album, Train's second album, Drops of Jupiter, another song that was everywhere in 2001. And it was overplayed, but it's catchy as heck, and I love that song. A band I mentioned on Grant's Rock Warehouse, Garbage, Beautiful Garbage. I'm going with the single Cherry Lips, and then in parentheses, Go Baby Go with an exclamation mark. And then my number 13, a band I haven't mentioned, Travis from the UK, sort of like a more mellow version of what a Radiohead originally sounded like. The album is The Invisible Band, and I'm going with Flowers in the Rain. Really catchy pop rock song. So those are my three honorables, Travis, Garbage, Train. This has been a long show, guys, so I think we should wrap it up. So thank you for watching, everyone. I want to remind everyone to rock out, prog on, and pogo. It's my mantra and my logo in almost every video. And there's a little poem for you. Check out John on John the Music Nut. Check out Bicycle Legs on Bicycle Legs Talks Music. And look for DC on Grant's Rock Warehouse and a lot of other cool stations in our little network here on YouTube. I'm Davey Cretin for Cretan Classics. We'll be back in about a month or so with another show when we tackle 2002 in detail. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Dave.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next month with 2002.